He had a wife who loved him, 2 kids who needed him, and a mother who prayed for him every night. But for 6 years, he came home to all of them, and still felt like he was somewhere else entirely. This is the story of Daniel and Maya. They met in their mid-20s, young, hopeful, the kind of couple that still held hands in grocery stores. By 32, they had a son named Eli, a daughter named Sophie, and a small house with a garden Maya planted herself. From the outside, their life looked full, but Daniel had one thing that always came first: his work. Not because he was greedy, not because he didn't love them. He genuinely believed that if he worked hard enough, if he provided enough, that was his way of loving them. He just never stopped to ask if they felt. Maya would wake up first, every morning. She'd make breakfast for the kids, pack Eli's backpack, remind Sophie where her shoes were, and send them both out the door. All before Daniel had even looked up from his phone. He wasn't ignoring them on purpose. He was reading emails, replying to his manager, thinking 3 steps ahead at a job that always demanded 4. Maya would stand at the sink, watching him, and think, he's right here, so why does it feel like he's not? She brought it up once, gently. Daniel, do you think we could have dinner together this week? Like, actually together? No phones? He looked up, nodded, said, yeah, of course, I'll try. He didn't try. Not because he didn't want to, he just forgot, or got a call, or a deadline crept in. Maya stopped asking after a while. She told herself she was being understanding, that he was tired, that this was just a season. But seasons come and go, and this one had lasted 6 years. Eli's school held a Father's Day event when he was 8. The kids were supposed to bring their dads. Daniel had it in his calendar. He meant to go. But that morning, a client call ran over. Then another. Then his manager needed a report by noon. He texted Maya, I'm so sorry. Tell Eli I'll make it up to him. This week has been insane. Maya didn't reply right away. She was sitting in that school hallway, watching Eli scan the door every 5 minutes. Every time it opened, he sat up straighter, and every time it wasn't Daniel, his little shoulders dropped just a little more. She took a photo of Eli that day, not to send to Daniel, not to post anywhere, just so she'd remember. The way a child's hope looks, right before it quietly breaks. Daniel's mother, Ruth, lived 40 minutes away. She called every Sunday. He answered maybe once a month. She was 71, lived alone, and never once complained about it. But she told Maya things she wouldn't tell Daniel. He used to call me just to talk, she said one afternoon, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea she'd barely touched. Now I hear his voice, and I feel like I'm interrupting something. Maya held her hand and didn't know what to say, because she knew exactly how that felt. The distance between Daniel and Maya wasn't loud. There were no big fights, no slammed doors, no dramatic moments. It was quiet. It was Maya reading alone every night. It was Daniel falling asleep with his laptop open. It was 2 people living one schedule instead of one life. One night, Maya said something she'd been holding for a long time. Not angry, just tired. Daniel, I feel like I'm raising our kids alone. And I think your mom feels like she lost you too. He sat up, looked at her. That's not fair. I worked this hard for you, for all of you. I know, she said, but they don't need your work, Daniel. They need you. He didn't say anything. 3 weeks after that conversation, Daniel got a call at 7 in the morning. His mother had collapsed at home. A neighbor found her. He drove to the hospital in silence. No podcast, no phone calls, no emails. just the road, and the sound of his own breathing. When he walked into that waiting room, Maya was already there. She'd driven straight from dropping the kids at school. She didn't say anything when she saw him. She just stood up and put her arms around him. He stood very still, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel the pull to check his phone. Didn't think about work. Didn't run the mental checklist of everything he had to do. There was just this room, and Maya's arms, and the terrifying thought, what if I run out of time? Ruth was okay, a minor cardiac event. She'd need rest, medication, a few weeks of monitoring. But when Daniel walked into her hospital room and saw her, small, pale, hooked to a monitor, something in him cracked open. She looked up at him and smiled, the way mothers do, like just seeing you is enough. You came, she said softly. 2 words. You came. He pulled a chair right next to her bed, took her hand, and he sat there for 4 hours. No emails, no calls returned, no reports, just him and his mother talking the way they used to. She told him about her neighbor's garden. He told her about Sophie's new obsession with dinosaurs. She laughed. He laughed. And he thought, when did I stop doing this? When did I decide that everything else was more important than the people who would walk into a hospital waiting room for me? He sat in that car for a long time before starting the engine. He thought about Eli at the school door, about Maya at the sink, about his mother calling on Sundays that he never answered. He wasn't a bad man. He just made a quiet, ongoing choice every single day to be somewhere else. And the people who loved him had learned to stop asking him to come back. That thought hit him harder than anything. They had stopped asking. That night, Daniel came home before dinner. He didn't announce it. He just walked in, put his phone face down on the counter, and asked Maya, "Can I help with something?" She looked at him for a moment, then handed him the wooden spoon. They cooked together that night. Badly, actually. He burned the garlic. Sophie knocked over a glass. Eli kept asking questions about dinosaurs that no one could answer. It was messy and loud and completely ordinary, and Daniel thought it was the best evening he'd had in years. He called his mother every Sunday after that, not out of guilt, out of want. He started leaving his phone in the car during Eli's soccer games. He started asking Maya about her day and actually listening to the answer. None of it was dramatic. There was no grand gesture, no speech, just small, consistent choices to be present. Maya noticed. She didn't make a big deal of it, but one night, after the kids were asleep, she leaned over and rested her head on his shoulder, and he put his arm around her. No words needed. That night, Daniel came home before dinner. He didn't announce it. He just walked in, put his phone face down on the counter, and asked Maya, "Can I help with something?" She looked at him for a moment, then handed him the wooden spoon. They cooked together that night. Badly, actually. He burned the garlic. Sophie knocked over a glass. Eli kept asking questions about dinosaurs that no one could answer. It was messy and loud and completely ordinary, and Daniel thought it was the best evening he'd had in years. He called his mother every Sunday after that, not out of guilt, out of want. He started leaving his phone in the car during Eli's soccer games. He started asking Maya about her day and actually listening to the answer. None of it was dramatic. There was no grand gesture, no speech, just small, consistent choices to be present. Maya noticed. She didn't make a big deal of it. But one night, after the kids were asleep, she leaned over and rested her head on his shoulder, and he put his arm around her. No words needed. Here's the thing about the people who love us most. They are incredibly patient. They wait. They hope. They adjust. They quietly carry things they never asked to carry. But patience isn't infinite, and people can grow so used to your absence that they stop leaving the light on. Daniel almost learned that too late. The truth is, no job title will sit beside you in a hospital room. No project will remember the sound of your laugh. No achievement will look at the door wondering when you're coming home. The people who love you will. For a while, at least. Don't wait for a waiting room to remind you of what matters. If this story made you feel something, maybe it reminded you of someone, or something you've been putting off, or a call you keep meaning to return, you're not alone in that. Every week on Between Us, we tell stories like this one. Real, honest, human stories about love, distance, and the quiet ways we find our way back to each other. If that's something you need in your life, subscribe. We'll be here. Between Us.